Hello Shmuposphere, how are you folks? This video was supposed to come out at the beginning of the month, but you know, we had a marathon and well, it ended up delaying everything. But here I am, better late than ever, right? Consider this is a June-July double edition, since there probably won't be a video in August. We're going on vacation to Brazil, and yes, I like you guys a lot, but not enough to make me edit videos on my vacations, right? But let's get to the point, since there were like countless interesting announcements in the last few months. But before I start, you know the drill. If you like what you see here, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this content with your friends. After all, well, you guys know how YouTube works. And without further ado, let's start. If you watched the second Shmup's PR marathon, you certainly saw the name Interstellar Sentinel. And yes, it's a game that's being developed for Steam by Uplifting Gold. At first glance, it may seem like it's just an horizontal shmup inspired by, I don't know, Lords of Thunder and Jinaug, but there are many new features and interesting mechanics being implemented here. In addition to a strong influence from the bullet hell genre. The release will take place on August 2nd, and you can already go to the Steam page and add it to the wishlist if you like it. Another heavy hitter that is coming to Steam is I Got Isekaid into a shmup. With a strong influence from Cave, especially Dodonpachi series, I Got Isekaid into a shmup allows 4 simultaneous players, has the option to play in tate mode, scan lines, and very well crafted soundtrack. The release is scheduled for the July of 2024, but the Steam page is already up and running, and the link, like all others in this video, is in the description field if you are interested. Touhou Makuka Fantastic Danmaku Festival Part 3 has already arrived on Steam, a fun game of the Touhou series with visuals reminiscent of some bullet hell games by Cave and Psycho. The Steam page is already live and you can add the game to your favorites list, but it won't be released until the end of 2024. And looks like the Mad Max Team shmups are hot at the moment. Roadpunk Mayhem is yet another game that mixes bullet hell with a post-apocalyptic setting. The game has a combo-based score system and 3 different drivers to choose from, as well psychedelic visuals and a punk rock soundtrack. Roadpunk Mayhem is out now, it's on sale, and it costs peanuts. It's worth checking out if you like the theme. The Redneg series has been relatively successful, and a new chapter arrived on Steam at the end of June. Redneg Allstars Swing By Edition changes the series formula a bit, being a game entirely dedicated to a boss rush. That is, there's no stages, it's just direct combat boss after boss. The game is already available for buying on Steam. Do you remember Platypus, a shmup released in 2022 for the PC? It's a shmup with a very unique look, made entirely of modeling clay, and now, 22 years later, it's getting a remake. Platypus Reclayed, it's not, however, just a remaster. The game is being completely remade from scratch, and promises to bring more new features. I confess I'm very curious about what will be done here, since this graphic style is quite unusual for shmups. The Evercade shmup library is already quite generous, but very important titles were just announced. The second volume of Data-East's arcade collection has been announced, as well as the third from Toaplan. Data-East cartridge will feature titles such as B-Wings, Crude Buster, Super Real Darwin, Midnight Resistance, Joe and Mac, and Trio the Punch, one of my all-time favorites. Toaplan's cartridge will include both versions of Batsugun, FixEight, Truxton 2, Vimana, Gox, and Outzone. Konami. As I always mention here, Konami holds one of the largest shmups portfolios in the gaming market, and something curious happened recently. At the end of June, they renewed the registration of the titles Gokujo Parodius Da, Zizix, also known as Orius in some regions, and this SNES exclusive classic X-Lay. It may be nothing, since companies need to renew the registration of their titles, but the curious thing is the Zizix was recently released in the Arcade Archive series, which is something to think about. With Signy All Guns Blazing getting closer to its release, could Konami be thinking about reviving some of these shmups franchises? Well, for us fans, we can only dream, right? And speaking of reviving classic franchises, Raiden Nova has been announced by Moss. And despite the familiar name, the game will be the first Raiden in over 30 years of the series that will not have vertical scrolling. Will it be a free-scrolling multi-directional shmup like Thunder Force 2, or maybe something more along the lines of Vampire Survivors? So far we can only speculate, at least from the information we can see on the trailer. Honestly, I didn't really like what I see here, but I'll wait for the release to, build up a more concrete opinion about it. After all, I played a lot of Vampire Survivors, so let's hope for the best but prepare for the worst. And in mid-July, the new trailer for Earthion, a shmup by Yuzo Koshiro and his team, was already released. This time they highlighted the game's music, but it was also possible to see new elements that were included in the new level design that we couldn't see on the previous trailers. Earthion will be released as a cartridge for the Mega Drive, but all current platforms will also receive a port. Another arcade classic, Jackal, is released in the Arcade Archive series, being available for PS4 and Switch. This game was also quite popular on NES, but if you never had a chance to play the original arcade version, now you can. And CG Connection announced a collection of 2 Data-East games, Fang, which is a running gun, and School Fang, which is a vertical shmup. They are somehow interconnected, but don't ask me, I don't know anything about the lore of these games. Remember that this is a chapter in the Saturn Tribute series, meaning that these are not the arcade versions, but the console versions, the Sega Saturn versions. CG Connection promised some improvements to the game, such as save state, rewind, rearranged music options, and etc. Still on re-releases, Cho Aniki Collection has been announced. Apparently the package will feature the PC Engine games, but there isn't much information available in the publisher's website yet. And while Limited Run Games doesn't deliver the Steel Empire collection they put on sale last year, a new package hits the market by Inning Games, named Over Horizon and Steel Empire. This collection features the Mega Drive and Game Boy Advance versions of Steel Empire and the NES version of Over Horizon, which is a kind of spiritual predecessor to the steampunk shmup. The package will be available for PS4 and Switch. Topple Zip, a PC-88 shmup released in 1986, will be released on the Egg console service by D4 Enterprise. The service offers games in encapsulated emulators ready to be played for very reasonable prices. Topple Zip has been released for several other platforms, and I knew the MSX version very well, but if you're curious about the PC-88 version, it was released for the Switch by the end of last June. As you may already know, Terroring the Tireless is about to release his new game called Crystal Breaker. Strongly inspired by the Star Soldier series, the new game has much more beautiful graphics than the author's previous releases. The Steam page is now available, the release is scheduled for 2024. Operation Steel, a horizontal shmup that achieved relative success on Steam, is coming to Nintendo Switch. Inspired by several classics of the genre, the game has some insanely powerful weapons and a generous amount of upgrades and stages. I was really impressed by this one. RainChaser has a very solid art direction and it's reminiscent of several classic shmups from the 90s that I'm a big fan of. I really enjoyed the little I saw and I believe it's another project worth following and supporting. The game has a demo on itch.io in case you're interested in trying it out. If you, like me, were a fan of shmups and had an Amiga in the 90s, you definitely played Project X. For this platform it was one of the best shmups of the time, practically an attempt to make a Gradius for the Amiga. But it had some serious problems, the biggest being the ship's inertia. Well, decades later, an unofficial sequence is coming out called Project X Light Years. Apparently the developers are big fans of the original game and had put a lot of energy in this project, which is getting really interesting. The game will be released for Steam and consoles, and I honestly hope they solve the inertia problem because it was one of the few things I really didn't like about this game. A shmup with really interesting look, Hyper Dramagandra reminded me a bit of Sand Dragon and the 32-bit Darius series games. I found this game on Twitter and there isn't much information there yet, but I really like what I saw so far. The developer's Twitter is on the list of the links in the video description in case you want to follow it too. I've been waiting for news about Metal Cancer for a while and well, here's the new video for the game, which is being developed for the NES. We also don't have much information yet, but looks like it will end up being a good game. I know it makes me want to cry every time a new game comes out for the Exa Arcadia platform, since few people will have the chance to play it, and getting the games is even harder because everything related to Exa Arcadia is very expensive, but anyway. The latest news is FixEight, the crazy run and gun that Toaplan released in the 90s, was just announced for the Exa Arcadia as a revitalized version. The new game now allows 4 simultaneous players, the character art has been completely redone, and there should be more new features that are not possible to identify just by looking at the trailer. I really wish that one day all these Exa Arcadia games come out to some home platform. And for the off-topic section, we have Nightshift Galaxy, which is a game that reminds a lot of an HD version of Bulk Slash for the Sega Saturn. You pilot a transformable mecha that has to fight enemies in a 3D environment with strong anime inspiration. From what I've seen so far, the art direction is to be congratulated. The game already has a page on Steam for those who want to follow the project. And as expected, let's talk about ninjas. Yes, ninjas are always relevant. Shattered Ninja is a Metroidvania that seems to be inspired by Ninja Gaiden, Strider and other games of this team for the NES. The Steam page is already up in case you want to check it out. And the trailer for Double Dragon Revive has been released. Yet another attempt by Arc System Works to revive the classic beat-em up from the 80s. Everything looks really nice in the trailer, but honestly, I couldn't really understand what the game will be like. Or rather, if what was shown in the trailer is the game, I honestly didn't like it very much. I think Arc System Works still hasn't quite captured the spirit of what a game in the Double Dragon series is, but anyway, let's wait and see what comes next. Curiously, practically at the same time, the trailer for Karate Kid Street Rumble came out. And if you thought that this game has a lot more Double Dragon than the Double Dragon game that I just talked about, believe me, I thought exactly the same thing. It's not just because they're using pixel art here, but it just simply seems to work better as a beat 'em up. I also really like what I saw here, especially the care taken with the source material. If you are a big fan of the Karate Kid series, definitely check it out. And that's it, folks. These are the main news for the months of June and July 2024. Again, sorry, but the marathon got me and I had to make a special edition again. Thank you very much for watching the video to the end. What do you think of the games that were announced? Did you already know about Interstellar Sentinel? Did you also think Raiden Nova was kind of off? Leave a message in the comments, I'll be happy to answer. And if you like what you saw here so far, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel, share the video with your group of friends, consider becoming a member of the channel and collaborate with larger projects like the dossiers, and thank you very much for your attention. Peace out and bye bye.